Hello and welcome back to episode 18 of Life is a Game. Today I'm joined by Kelsey Brennan, an online health and fitness coach, and she's recently grown her social media to over 126,000? 24. I'll let you introduce yourself and tell everyone a little bit about you.
Yeah, so hello, first of all. My name is Kelsey. I'm 24 as of Sunday, and I am from Ireland also. To everyone else listening, I'm an online health, fitness and mindset coach, but to the people closest to me in my life, I'm a professional pain in the ass.
So unbelievable.
Yeah, I've been in Bali for 2 years, traveling around Southeast Asia, working online. And yeah, recently have grown my Instagram, and it's like just completely turned around business, and it's spread my passion and my message to so many more people. So my work has become a lot more fulfilling, and I get to do what I love and travel at the same time. So
I absolutely love that.
Amazing.
It's pretty wild. You're one of the first people I met in Bali in 2022 when I first came to Bali. I feel like both of us, for both of our lives, so much has changed between now and then. It's like wild.
Yeah.
But for you, I'd say, like, what is the biggest, we'll say, 3 things that has changed in your life between when I first met you then and now?
I think the biggest thing that's changed in my life is myself, and in a positive way. So I look back at myself and I kind of cringe, and I'm like, I'm so embarrassed by things that I used to do. But if there's one thing that I've learned in my life, is that if you're not embarrassed by something that you've done or content that you've made, then you haven't grown. And I think I look back at myself and I'm like, oh, I was just a baby. Like, I had so much to learn. And I think, yeah, the biggest thing that has changed is myself. My confidence has changed a lot. I've grown into myself. It sounds a bit woo-woo, but I found myself, if that makes sense.
Found your groove a little bit.
Yeah, like I found my flow. I know like what I want. I know what my values are, and I'm no longer like searching for who I am. I'm kind of like just bulleting forward now. I think also my business has changed since we met. Like, it has grown a lot, which is such a positive thing.
For sure.
And what else has changed? I would say my outlook on a lot of things. Again, that kind of relates back to the biggest thing that has changed is myself. But I think the people that I've met over the last 2 years have kind of helped me to shape my perspective on life. They've helped me to open my eyes, open my mind to new things. So I would say those 3.
I absolutely love that. And coming from Ireland, even getting into coaching, like before, I know like we have kind of similar-ish stories in terms of college and our perspective on that. But talk me through that, like after school, what you did and like how you got into coaching after school.
Yeah, so when I was in school, I originally wanted to be a PE teacher. I always wanted to do something related to activity, related to exercise. So I thought that the best way to do that and to access people that I could help was to be a teacher. You know, when you're growing up, they're literally your idols. You know, you look up to your teachers, and you want to, like, if you want to help people, teaching is probably the one thing that comes to mind. And basically then after school, I applied to do PE teaching and biology. I think it was in DCU as well.
Was it, yeah?
Yeah. So I wake up, like, results morning, I'm chuffed with my results, and then offers come out. And I think I was, like, set that I have it in the bag, because the year before the points were much lower for this course.
Yeah.
I missed it by 1 point.
That is wild. I remember you telling me that is crazy. Do you think that's like a little bit like everything happens for a reason, or
Absolutely.
like meant to be?
I mean, if at the time I wish I could see it like that, but now looking back at it, I'm like, definitely that was leading me in a whole different direction. I was meant to live this life.
Yeah.
But imagine if I got like that 1 point, how different my life might look.
The butterfly
right
effect.
now, right?
Insane.
So that is the epitome of the butterfly effect. 1 literal point. So at the time I was a bit gutted about that, and I was like, okay, I'm going to defer for a year, maybe reapply next year. And in that 1 year, everything changed, because rather than just sit and dwell on, okay, I'm going to wait for next year for offers to come around again and for me to go and do that course, I kind of was proactive, and I was like, right, I do want to help people anyway. So I went and applied for my personal training certification. I did that course, and then from that course I got an internship from that internship, I learned so much. I think I'm like 6 months unpaid internship in a gym, but the gym was fantastic. Like it was so community focused. It had people's like health and best interest at heart the whole time. It was there was no kind of toxic ways about going about fitness. It was very much like your health is your wealth, so let's work on that rather than just how you look or building some nice muscles to look at in the mirror. Yeah. It was very like the core values of that gym were amazing. And then when it came back around to reapplying for college, I was like, I'm just loving what I do so much that I wasn't, at the time, I really didn't want to sacrifice the time that I was spending learning, being in that gym, helping people, because I was getting so much fulfillment from that, that when the time came around again to reapply, I was like, no, I'm just going to defer another year. I was just like pushing it off. And like my friends were even like really disappointed when I told them I was like, no, I'm not going to go back to college. And they were like, what? Like, I think one of my friends cried in my sitting room because I told her I wasn't going back to college. And that's just like someone else's fear being projected because she was doing really well in like college and stuff like that. And that was really important to her, but it wasn't important to me.
And I always say, like in Ireland, being from kind of like a small place, success is almost defined for you when you're growing up. And it's like you have to be successful, you have to go to college, you have to get a degree, you have to get a good high paying job. And people almost just forget to actually sit down and be like, but what does success actually mean to me? And just project kind of what society's version of success and your parents maybe is onto your life. So I'd say that's kind of where you're at there about just like redefining like what is actually success to me.
Yeah, for sure. Like, what have you shared what your reasoning is for not going to college on this podcast?
I think I touched on it briefly in my last podcast with Daniel. It was, so I'd done like 3 years and every single person, you were kind of part of that as well, was like, no, go back. You have one more year left. Go back to college. But I was just like, it just doesn't align with where I'm going or where I'm at. I was like, no part of me is going to work a 9 to 5 in an office in Dublin or anywhere in the world. I'm just not the kind of person who likes being told what to do or likes being like confined to one particular place and location. So for me, that just wasn't success in any way, shape or form. So just really like aligning, like kind of discovering my values and aligning them with where I wanted to go. No, it just like wasn't something that aligned, and it really worked out in my favor despite like the opinions of almost everyone.
Yeah, but do you think, like, have you worked a 9 to 5?
I did when I left Bali. We have a little bit of catching up to do on that.
We do.
Well. When I left Bali in December of 2022 that year, so from January till May, I was working a 9 to 5 corporate 9 to 5 in marketing, kind of a similar job that I would have got after my degree anyways. So that was pretty like good just to get that experience and to kind of shut my dad up for a little bit about the whole college thing. But
keep him on your good side.
Keep him on my good side. Really wasn't for me. It was just like, it was a really, really good job, and there was so much like travel involved as well, but just like I have my own dreams and aspirations, and I feel like I was just showing up every single day to work on someone else's dreams, work on someone else's vision, and just had fuck all energy to put into like my own vision and what I actually wanted to do myself. So that was like really difficult, but just kind of doing stuff on the side as well, and then just went all in on it in September. So
yeah, but I think that's really important for people listening as well, that you have done a 9 to 5 job, because people think that when people like me and yourself say, oh no, like just go and do what you want, it's not as easy for everyone to do that.
Completely agree.
But it's also like, when you know that this is not what you want to do, it makes it easier for you to sit in that temporary like discomfort. And I think that applies to everything. When you lean into the discomfort of, okay, I don't want to work this 9 to 5 job, okay, then do something about it. But you will have to maintain this maybe to like support yourself financially, or just to keep routine in your life and to learn a lot from it. Like, I know that jobs that I sat in that I didn't necessarily want to do, I learned so much from, and then I can apply them to my business too. But in the temporary discomfort that you sit in, you grow so much, and then you lead yourself to a better place in terms of starting your own business or leading yourself to a different career path. But it's okay to do the shit thing, basically.
Definitely. I think it's important as well. It's important, and it's just like, it's that gap between like knowing in terms of this is not what I want to do, and then people have that gap of discomfort before they actually take action to make changes. And you can sit in that for a while, but then it's really important just to take action if you know that that's not what you want to do, towards something they actually like have any sort of interest in. And I always tell my clients as well, it's like narrative residence. I'm not sure if you ever heard that phrase, but basically it's like when you don't know what you want to do and you're just really lost, to find people who are living a similar life to what you want, and just like ask to buy them a coffee. Like, can I sit down with you, buy you a coffee, like to hear about your life? And if some part of their story resonates with where you're at in your journey, it can really just light a spark inside you, and the path can kind of almost unravel to where you want to go in a sense. So that's a really good recommendation for anyone that's even listening to this podcast that just kind of feels like they're stuck in a job but doesn't actually know what kind of action to take towards something they actually want to do. Just find someone who's living the life you want and send them a message. Like, really, I think that's really a good approach to just kind of get more perspectives on things as well.
Absolutely. I think like reaching out to people and just asking them for a coffee, or like people, I've learned since I moved to Bali especially, people want to help you. And I think especially here, there's less gatekeeping. There's
Sure.
Everybody just wants to have each other's back. And I know for sure if someone texted me and they're like, hey, can I grab a coffee with you? Like, yeah, of course, because if one thing that I say can help you, that's how I literally built my whole business. It's
Absolutely.
like, if it's helping one person, it's doing its job.
Completely agree.
So I think, yeah, just bite the bullet. And what's the worst thing that can happen? They don't reply or they say no. Okay, your life didn't really change.
Literally, the pros outweigh the cons by miles.
100%, I agree.
And when you said leaning into discomfort there, that's such a big one. And obviously, both of us kind of done that, especially with coming to Bali by ourselves. But talk me through that decision for you to come here, move here by yourself back in, I think it was May 2022 for you, wasn't it?
It was just after my 22nd birthday. So it was in June I left. I arrived on the 1st of June. And the reason why I wanted to come here was because I needed change in my life. I was originally looking at moving to Spain, and it went from 0 to 100 so quickly. Like, Spain is like 3 hour flight, and then like Bali is like a 32-hour flight. So I just wanted to like lean into a new part of my life where I had to be super independent. I had to be reliant on myself. And I had to kind of go and navigate the world, because after being in lockdown, I was just craving change. And that's something that doesn't come easy to everybody. Like, as humans, we like comfort, but comfort is not always the best thing for us. So I was just like, I need to be uncomfortable. And that's a trait that I've always had. It's why I always like used to challenge myself in terms of fitness and stuff. So I just wanted change. I came here and I had already known people like Aveen and stuff out here.
Yeah.
So I had some sort of comfort to go to in terms of, right, I know people when I get there. And a big part of also meeting people here was the gyms, the community in the gyms.
For sure.
Getting talking to people. It's very easy to do that. But yeah, I think it was just craving change that brought me here.
I love that. And like chasing discomfort as well, as you said, and just like putting yourself in that position that you can level up and grow, just really throwing yourself in the deep end. But what was that like at the start? Was there any points where you kind of questioned your decision at all, or was it kind of all easy, free flowing for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, how much detail do you want me to go into? In my first 2 weeks, I had a bike accident, dengue fever, and also Bali belly. Like,
what do you call it? Like being christened to Bali, wasn't it?
We always used to say it's that. Like initiation.
Initiation
into
challenges
Bali.
you.
I fully believe that is a thing.
Oh yeah.
Everybody that I've met that wants to stay in Bali long term.
Yeah.
For longer than 2 months is challenged in some sort of way. And they're like, nah, I'm going home. Like, I can't be here anymore. And I'm like, please just get through this. And then you'll be fine.
Get to the other side.
The resilience that you build from Bali challenging you, it's different.
I completely agree.
So in the first 2 weeks, I was challenged a lot. But at no point, if I'm going to be completely honest, I was lying in a hospital bed and my mom's calling me. She's like, do you want me to book you a flight home? And I was like, absolutely not.
Absolutely Still, no.
Yeah, and there's been multiple points, even last year, like even 6 months ago, where I've said, no, I need to go back to Ireland. And then I reached the point even last year, after being here for like a year and a half, and I was like, okay, I need to go home now. So I went back to Ireland in December. And then when I went back to Ireland in December, I was like, I absolutely need to make my life in Bali work, because the level of growth that I was achieving here, the level of connection that I was having here with people was just hitting different, and it was just so good for me. And the lifestyle that I have as well, I have a lot more flexibility, and I think my version of balance, I think balance looks different to everybody, but my version of balance is more like, it's better out here than it is in Ireland. So I think there's been multiple points where I've wanted to throw in the towel on Bali, but just keeps calling me back.
Yeah.
Just keeps calling me back.
No, I get that so much. And even for you, like you mentioned there, like being back in Ireland and been here, what is the biggest differences between like life at home in Ireland and then life here for you? You mentioned balance, but talk me through some of the details of that.
So if we're both in Bali, myself and yourself, and I text you today, let's go for coffee tomorrow, you're like, yeah. I think in Ireland you have to text someone like 3 months in advance to organise to meet up, like, but that's just the way life is, you know.
Yeah.
And back in Ireland, it's very much everybody's in their work routine. Here, there's like a lot more social life, I think, and that doesn't just come from like going out drinking or anything like that. Like social life is so vast here in terms of like you can go play paddle together, you can go boxing together, you can go like do any sort of activity together. And I think that unless you have a very social group in Ireland, it does differ. Out here, I see people every day. When I was in Ireland, now this is just personal preference of how I was working on my business and stuff when I was in Ireland, but I wouldn't see people for weeks, even months at some points, because I was just focused on my stuff, they were focused on their stuff, and then it was kind of like, oh, I'll see you for an hour on Wednesday here, there and everywhere. But I think the connection and the social, like, what do you call it,
social group, social network.
Yeah, so
like just like what you can do. That's what I even found when I went home at Christmas last year. It was like you're so used to just doing so many nice things with people here. Like let's go for sunset and a coconut on the beach, or let's go play paddle, as you said, and like let's grab a coffee. But when you go back to Ireland, it's like everything always revolves around drinking as well. It's like let's get a pint, or like let's go on a night out. And like for me, that just didn't really align anymore. But talk me through like your relationship even with like alcohol and being home over Christmas. Did you find any of that? Like everyone was kind of like dragging you to like beer in and going out, or was it kind of more like wholesome vibes?
It was more wholesome vibes. Like I'm very blessed with like my family, my group of friends. Like I think my family would be worse actually for dragging me out drinking than my friends would be. But I think when I was at home, I would like everybody was trying to meet up with me, because I forget sometimes living in Bali for such a long time that my life is so different to people back home, and they're so fascinated by it. And I feel so privileged to be able to live out here and have created this life for myself. So when I was at home, a lot of people wanted to meet up and hear about my life, and it wasn't a case of they wanted to go out drinking necessarily. I would just invite them over for tea in my house. It's such an Irish thing.
Yeah.
Tea and cake.
Such an Irish thing.
So it wasn't really my scene anyway when I lived in Ireland, but now that like I've been home, and I think it's actually on the decline, like people going out drinking as much.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of people are putting themselves first. A lot of people are focusing more on their health and fitness and stuff. So I think it's not great for Irish businesses and like pubs and stuff.
Yeah, Irish culture in general, yeah.
But yeah, that's the thing as well. When I came out to Bali, they were like, oh, you're Irish. And then at the time, I was in a phase of my life where I just, like, I didn't like to drink, so I wasn't drinking.
Yeah.
And I would go out and people would be like, where are you from? I say, Ireland. And then they're like, oh, what are you drinking? And I'm like, I'm not drinking. They're like, you're Irish though.
Yeah.
What do you mean you're not drinking?
That's really it. It's wild. Like, it's wild. It's just almost expected, even like at parties and stuff like that, the Irish is going to get like the most fuck. Like, it's just.
I used to get a lot of
stereotype.
grief for that back home when I would say, oh,
Really?
I don't want to drink. Like, I would go around with a red Solo cup in my hand.
Yeah.
With like Coke Zero in it or something. And
Yeah.
they'd be like, oh, what are you drinking? I'm like, vodka Coke. Just straight up Coke.
Yeah.
No
it's
alcohol
always
at all.
so weird the way it's kind of looked down upon, even in a sense. And you're considered like, I remember that as well when I kind of was going off drink before I left, like having 0 zeros. And people would be like, is there something wrong with you? Like, what's going on? Like, it's mad. It's just like, I don't want to drink today. Is that okay?
Yeah.
That's wild. And even like, something my mom always says that you kind of mentioned there, but she's like, sometimes off the perspective that it's really easy for me. So like we were talking about, say, moving abroad and like changing your life. And like, as you said there, even with like your friends saying like, oh, like Kelsey has such a cool life. I'd really like to hear about that a little bit more. But for both of us, we know that it wasn't easy. We had to put ourselves in these uncomfortable positions and choose discomfort to be able to grow and level up. But basically my question is, for someone that's at home, seeing your life and just like wanting a piece of the pie, like really wanting to live like some sort of life that you're living, what would you recommend for someone who's like, let's say, stuck in a job that just wants to travel more? How would they get out of that in your perspective?
I think, if I'm honest, it really does relate back to sitting in that temporary discomfort. Like if you want to create a life for yourself, it's going to be uncomfortable. it doesn't really come easy unless you're very, very lucky. And you kind of have to put yourself in the position of saying, right, I'm not going to get here by luck, and just put in the work. And then if you do get some help along the way, then that's a cherry on top. But it's be willing to put in the hard work, and if you need to go through something that you don't necessarily like in order to get something that you do want, that's okay as well. As I said earlier, like working in the 9-to-5 job, we've both done it in order to help create this life for ourselves. So it's kind of like your pathway to creating that life. Put in the hard work, save your money. And I think if you have a passion, try to lean into that and see if you can monetize it. Because if you can do what you love and then monetize it, you can create, there's a bit of truth to, if you do what you love, you're never going to work a day in your life, but it does require work still.
Yeah.
You know, we both love what we do.
Absolutely.
But it's still stressful at times, and that's a good thing, because if it's stressful, it means you care about it.
Yeah.
You know?
100%.
So if you have a passion, or, you know, you have an idea, see if other people want to buy into that, and then if you can monetize it, advertise yourself, market yourself, get the word out there, and then just focus on being consistent of like showing up in that area, and then just monetize it and build it from there. So.
I absolutely love that. And talk me through your perspective on consistency and how important it is in terms of like business and life in general.
Consistency is one thing that literally applies to every single area of your life. It doesn't matter whether it is your career, yourself, your health and fitness, your relationships. Consistency literally is the key. Not to be like one of those people that takes quotes from Instagram, but consistency is key.
It really is.
There's a lot of truth in that saying, because with growing my Instagram, with growing my business, with my own health and fitness, consistency has brought me to the best places, because it doesn't matter whether you show up with 100% or whether you show up with 40% of what you have. It's the showing up that makes the difference. It's like if I go and have a gym session on Monday and I was able to give 100%, and I have a class gym session, and then on Wednesday I go and I only have like 40% energy, the fact that I showed up makes more of a difference than the effort that I could put into it. Because if I was to say, right, I only have 40%, I'm not going to go today, that's going to do worse. Like,
So the concept of always choose progress over perfection.
Exactly.
Always just choose to show up.
Yeah.
And even like in the negative of that, it's like if you don't brush your teeth for one day, it's probably not going to make that much of a difference. You don't brush your teeth for a week, your breath's probably going to smell. You don't brush your teeth for a year, your teeth are probably going to be falling out of your head.
Exactly.
And that applies to the positive as well. So if you just do one small thing today, we'll say in terms of health and fitness even, you go for one workout today, then you work out like 5 days of this week, you're going to see like a little bit of progress. And then you work out every single like week for a year, you're going to see huge changes in your body. So it's just the power of that little 1% every single day, and how much it compounds and adds up over longer periods of time is wild. And that's basically the concept of consistency, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the same with social media as well. You'll know that you upload some videos, they flop. You upload some videos, they blow up. You know, it's the showing up that makes the difference, because those videos that flop could have related to someone that is going to then buy from you, or because your video blew up and got like 1 million views, it's kind of the same in terms of moving your career, moving your page forward. It's the showing up that makes the difference.
Definitely.
But definitely, as you say, it can have a compound in a negative way. So if you're consistent with the wrong things, it's going to have a negative outcome. But if you're consistent with the right things and showing up, then it's going to bring you positive results.
Definitely.
But definitely, like, I know for sure that you are very passionate about 1% improvements.
Something I'm super passionate about. Like the difference it can make is just insane over long periods of time. Like it's wild. And even when it comes to, as you said, social media there, like both of us posting, and both of us kind of blew up in a sense in the last like while as well. But it's so easy to look in from the outside and just say, oh my God, they got so lucky. They got like one video that blew up. But nobody kind of sees or puts like emphasis on all the other videos that you posted that like didn't do so well. I think mine was like 140 videos that did like average before I got that one that just kind of hit. So it's why like it's like the concept of luck itself. I always say that like the more shots you shoot, the luckier you get, and that applies to kind of consistency and everything. Like the more opportunities you make for yourself, the luckier you just become in life. Luck's kind of a myth. It's just about shooting shots and seeing what sticks in a sense as well.
100%. I like that. The shooting shots. Yeah, I like it.
And what about you, like posting on social media and stuff like that, in terms of the last while? How did that impact your business at all? Like that video that hit, just talk me through a little bit about your journey with social media, with posting videos, and then obviously increasing your impact over the last while and coaching and stuff. Talk us through that.
Yeah. So a lot of it came from like growing my confidence to being on camera. And I knew that I had a message that I wanted to share, but I knew that my message was kind of going against what was very popular in the industry. So I was just like, you know, I just need to bite the bullet. If people hear it and they don't like it, okay, it's not going to hurt me. You know, it's just what I have to say. And showing up consistently, then people started to hear my message and I started to get access, I would say, to more people because my videos were being pushed to a broader audience, and that brought in a lot of traction to my page. And the thing is, like, just because we touched on consistency before, because I had uploaded so many videos that maybe like quote unquote flopped or hadn't been pushed out as much, when those people came to my page because of that one video that they related so much to, they had a whole library of videos explaining my message, explaining things that I was passionate about, and teaching them new things about health and fitness, and even how to improve their mindset around food, exercise, everything like that. So they had like a strong foundation then to build off of, in terms of like trusting me and like liking me as a person on Instagram, that they just come across one of their videos and be like, oh, she's cool, like I'll follow her. And then I think, wait, what was the question? Because I'm going to go off on a tangent.
Go off away, but basically the impact of that growth on your business, and even just like the process of getting to that point as well.
Yeah, so obviously with a lot more traction and a lot more eyes on my page and people starting to look into what I do, I did get a lot more inquiries and I was able to help a lot more people. And as far as helping more people goes, it doesn't necessarily mean that they paid me any money for that, because I actually did a podcast with one of my friends a few weeks ago, and he was trying to ask me questions like this about how has your following impacted your business and stuff, and he was looking for money answers, you know. He was looking for like, you know, what did it do for you financially? And I'm just like, that's not one of my biggest values. Yes, money is important. Money is important, and it does make life easier when you have it, but the main thing is that I wanted to always have an impact on people. I wanted to always bring out the best in them in terms of helping them change their lives, helping them to grow and see that there is different ways of doing things, and it doesn't always have to be a miserable journey in a health and fitness journey. So it did bring in a lot of new clients for myself. Like, that was very rewarding, because for a long time I thought about giving up on coaching because things were slow, things were difficult. When you use social media as your main kind of marketing platform, sales platform, it's very difficult because people need to trust you. They need to, like, you know, warm up to you, and you need to be able to offer them something that's going to help them. But it did make a big difference because I was also reaching more people, and with that, more people were reaching out to me and telling me about how this like 50-second video had like changed their whole perspective on a process within health and fitness, or changed their whole relationship with something. And I'm like, that literally took me 10 minutes to make. What do you mean? I take this information for granted sometimes.
There's nothing more fulfilling than that, I feel like, as well, like seeing your message actually impact someone in a positive way, like fully firsthand. Like, it's pretty wild. And
that's it. And as I said, like, these people didn't necessarily buy anything from me. And I know that, like, money and finance is a big part of any business, but for me it's the impact that I'm having on people that is the most fulfilling thing, because then I know that as long as I'm being fulfilled within the work that I do, I'm going to keep going. And that's a good thing, because at so many points when I wasn't getting rewarded financially within my business, I kept going because I knew the impact I wanted to make on people. I knew the change I wanted to bring about within people's lives, and that helped me to keep going. Because if I solely measured the success of my business off of money, then I would have given up a long time ago.
Yeah, you know? for sure. I think that's so important, as you said, is they're having that deeper meaning. And that's what I always say to people, even in terms of my coaching. I help people kind of achieve their goals. And you're never going to achieve a goal without a really, really strong why behind it. Otherwise, you're just going to give up when things get tough, because you have nothing that just like backs you to really keep you focused on the end thing. And if it's just money, as you said, like that kind of fluctuates, that goes up and down. It's not a strong enough why to actually do something and be able to stick at something for a really long period of time.
Absolutely.
So you really hit the nail on the head there with that why. ROI. And in terms of posting on social media itself, I know you've been kind of in the game quite a while, even like before we met, you were kind of into posting content and making videos as well back then. But when you first started, or even like along your journey the last few years, did you come across any difficulties or any hate or any negativity, or was it difficult for you to put yourself out there, or how is that for you?
It was definitely difficult to put myself out there because I think a long time ago, I'd say probably like 8 months ago, I was like, I think a little bit lost within myself as well. And I was vulnerable because I didn't know who I was, and I didn't really know what I could bring to the table, didn't really know what I could add to someone's life. And that made me very vulnerable. So then when I was thinking about putting myself out there, I would make a video and it would just sit in my camera roll for weeks, and I would not post it because I'm like, oh, I don't like how something looks, or I don't like what I said, or what if someone says like they don't agree. Like, okay, relax, Kelsey. It's not the worst thing in the world if they don't agree. But I think over time, as I did the work on myself and also put myself out there more, you become more desensitized to what people have to say, because you see the positivity coming in, you see that one person that it positively impacted, and that's what you put that video out there for, right?
It like overrides the negativity.
Exactly. Almost. But so many people let the negative override, because that's how our brains work, right? We're always going to see the negative. We always want to keep ourselves safe, you know? We don't want to, because like in primal times, our social status was probably very important to us, and it's ingrained in us to have social status, or like,
and even just be like part of the tribe, because if you get kicked out of the tribe in primal times, then you're dead. Like, so it's kind of engraved in us to like be accepted socially as well. It's very important.
So then, you know how it works. Then you're just like, right, I need to keep focusing on the positive, and that translates to so many areas of your life, just like consistency does. And this is why there's so many life lessons that you can take from a health and fitness journey and apply them to your life, and it applies to social media. Like if there's coaches listening, think about how you coach your clients and then apply that to how you show up on social media, because then it will completely change the game for you. Like practice what you preach, but in a different way.
I love that.
Yeah.
A little trick I have for that as well is like I always say to people who want to get more consistent with posting videos, so like think about your younger self, we'll say like 5 years ago, who didn't know any of this information, and think of them waiting on the other side of the phone for you to post a video every single day, and then not showing up for that person who's like waiting for that video to like maybe have some sort of a positive impact on their mind or see a bit of motivation, and just like put yourself back in your older self's shoes. I feel like that for me was like real powerful, like even when it came to like just feeling lost, and the people I used to look up to on social media that just gave me that extra boost to be like, keep going. And that's probably hopefully what I am for some people now back in Ireland. So I like to see it as like almost letting my younger self down if I don't post a video every day, which is like really powerful just to make you show up every day.
It's so powerful. Anytime someone talks about their younger self, or when I think of my younger self, it makes me so emotional, because I think someone asked me the question before, is if your younger self, or Kelsey at 16 or Emma at 16 could look at you now, like what would they say about you? And I'd be like, she thinks she was the shit.
Fucking class, you know? Like, even a year ago, like I was just thinking about that the other day. I was like, if me a year ago, like back in that office in Swords in Dublin, could see where I'm at right now with my life, my business, and like my social media and my consistency and my outlook in life and my mindset, I'd be like, holy shit, bro, like keep going. You're doing it. Like you're going to do it.
Exactly. What kind of advice would you give to someone who is like afraid to post in case of any sort of negative feedback?
Good question. And I've literally been there quite recently myself, like in terms of I only started posting videos in like May, June time, and that was like literally living in Ireland at the time. It was like such a big fear of mine in terms of like judgment from other people and stuff like that. And even when we first met, remember like I was doing a voiceover video and I was like, oh my God, I'm so scared to put my voice on. It was like from the clothing brand I was doing, like I would have never like even thought about speaking on camera just due to confidence and stuff like that too. So it back to like everything's learnable. You can't say you're not confident. Like people aren't born confident. People learn to be confident.
Exactly.
So when it comes to posting on social media, just imagine like if you do show up consistently, and like if that's what you want to grow a following, you want to make an impact, you want to start coaching, and this is the life like what me and you are living right now. This is the life you could have if you do that, or if you let the fear of care what other people think take over your life, then you're just going to be stuck in the same routine that you're in for the next 10 years. And I always say like look at it as if you're 70 or 80 years old, looking back on your life, thinking of this life that you could have lived if you didn't care what other people thought of you, or like been stuck in the same life you're in right now for the next 10 years if you just go that route of just caring what people think of you. Like imagine the regret that you'd feel having just like done this to live in line with what other people want you to be. when you're 70 or 80, as opposed to this like mad cool life you could have lived if you just got over that fear. So I think for me, that was one thing, just like the fear of having regret when I'm old about just not giving it a shot and not just going for it was one thing that helped me overcome the fear of judgment, I would say, definitely. And the concept that like nobody in life that's trying or doing better than you will ever pass any remarks or judgment. Like me and you will never judge anyone for starting to post content because we've been there ourselves.
We nearly hyped them up.
Literally, we'd be like, go for it. Yeah, come on, like, come on. Literally, it's only ever people who are kind of like not living the life you want or projecting their insecurities or the fact that they'd never do it onto you that pass that judgment, I feel, as well.
Definitely.
So realizing that like almost no one that ever has the life you want is going to pass judgment of you starting something because they have like been there at the beginning of their journeys too.
Yeah, exactly. And I even see like you're helping Orna, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's such a legend. And every time I see her reels come up now, I'm like, go on, girl. Yeah. Go on, girl. Get
Literally,
out there.
oh my God,
Because
like she's so good.
She's taking action in the direction that she wants her life to go. And that's only going to reward her. So every time, it's like, you know, when you see someone show up to the gym or when you see someone show up on social media, you're like, oh, like one step closer to the goalpost. It's literally one step closer to the goalpost every time she posts or every time someone else goes and shows up even when they don't want to. And I think that that's actually very funny because I recorded a reel with Daniel and we talked about like this whole making it a game.
Yeah.
And I absolutely love that. I absolutely love making things a game. And we talked about double XP. So if you are earning like points or XP for showing up on the days that you really don't want to show up, you get double XP.
I love that.
Again, just like my 1 point earlier with the whole leaving cert thing, the one video on my page that I dislike the most is the one that blew up the most.
Do you dislike that one the most? I love that video.
I swear. So my friend Destina, she was helping me with like my like social media, my marketing at the time, and I was making reels. She was in Germany at the time. So I would just make a reel, I would send it to her and she'd be like, yeah, post. I made that one, I sent it to her, she's like, I don't really like it.
I love that video.
She was like, I don't really like this one, like I prefer the other ones.
That's
and I was
so
like,
wild.
You know
though.
what, I don't have anything else to post
That
today.
Is so
Let me just throw it
wild.
up. And we threw it up and then I was like, Destina, I just got 5,000 followers from that video.
That is
It's on like
wild.
10K or something like that. And 10K at the time for a video was like, oh my God, for me. You know?
Yeah.
And
That's
then
insane, isn't
it was crazy. And then I was like, at the time it was blowing up and it just kept going up and up and up. And then it got like 500K views. And then I was at 10,000 followers. And I was like, what is going on? What is going on? And then that was just a life lesson for me in that video. And it's a lesson for everybody on social media because I'm sure that there's multiple people listening to this podcast who are probably coaches or who are, you know, thinking about putting themselves out there on social media. And if you don't like the video, like unless you're saying something super controversial that is like not going to be, you know, widely accepted, then just put it out there because you never know. Imagine if I didn't put out that video.
I had something similar happen to me. So like on my birthday, I was in Komodo, which is like a different island in Indonesia. And I was on the way back and like I've been like very much a mentality, post every day. So I was like really, really tired Sunday evening, sitting in the airport in Komodo, about to fly back to Bali. I was like, oh my God, shit, I have nothing ready for today. I had everything like kind of scheduled up till Saturday and this was Sunday, nothing ready for today. So I quickly was like, okay, before I get in the plane, I need to put a little reel together. So I just went on CapCut, made a little reel. It took me about 20 minutes, almost missed my flight. I got called out over the intercom, but made it, put it up, got on the flight. That video got 1 million views and got me, I think it was like maybe another 10K, 12K followers over the last while as well. It was that one video out of like all of them. I was like, that is mental. And it just goes to show the power of like, if I was just like, no, it's grand, I'm just going to skip today.
Yeah.
Be like 12K followers short and like 12K less people that I could actually make an impact on their lives and help and coach, you know?
That is such a good example of the showing up even though you don't want to or even though you feel like you can't.
Double XP, baby. I'm going to use that one. I love that.
Double XP. And I think I'm actually posting that reel today. So when
Nice.
people can go and look at the reel from myself and Daniel because I think I'm posting it today.
I love that.
And yeah, it's literally just that case of when you really don't want to show up. But yeah, I think I had a point there and then I lost it. But it'll come back to me.
Always happens. And even in terms of, I know we talked about our younger selves a little bit, but if you could go back to 16, we'll just go with the age 16-year-old you. What is one thing that you'd tell her to just like do, say, think, anything at all? One piece of advice.
I think the biggest struggle for myself. And the one thing that has held me back most in my life is my own confidence. Mm-hmm. So the main thing is, in my life, when it's come to challenges and discomfort, there's never been anything that I haven't been able to handle. But the biggest thing in my way has always been myself. So if I was to tell my 16-year-old self anything in order to move forward, make progress, and start to lean into creating the life that she wants and the life that she knows she wants, is to get out of her own way, in the sense of stop letting so many of your limiting thoughts take over and dictate your actions, and just put one foot in front of the other. Even if it's the smallest step that you make, it's still going in the right direction. And at no point can you not recreate yourself, or reinvent yourself. That's the one. Because we get so sucked into, this is who I am, this is like what I do, and we start to identify with these things. Maybe we don't necessarily like these things about ourselves, or we don't necessarily like these things about our life, and because we identify so strongly with them, they feel fixed. And there's no point where you cannot turn that around, because like you said earlier, confidence is learned, and if confidence is learned, also these like bad habits are learned, and
limiting beliefs
are learned.
I think you'll love this one. So like, think of it like there's an overgrown field and loads of grass overgrowing, and you're saying to yourself negative things like, I'm lazy, I'm undisciplined, like I'm not a confident person. And the more times you think that, the more that path is getting walked down, so the grass is getting battered and battered and battered. It's really easy to walk that path. Then to create a new thought, so you want to say like, I'm confident, I'm really hardworking, I'm not lazy. That grass is really overgrown. So when you first start to think that, it's going to be really difficult to like go that route. But the more you take that route, the more that path gets battered down, and then the other one grows over a little bit. So then that new path, that positive thought, is going to be easier to take.
That is so good. I love that.
Nice little analogy.
So many people with this would say like, oh, fake it till you make it. And there's like a bit of sense in that, in the terms of like, okay, if you want to be confident, act confident. And that just comes from, how would someone who is confident act? And then when you start to act like that, it does become easier. It's the same with anything else. If you have a goal, think of the habits and the thoughts that that person has who has already achieved that goal, and then act that way. But don't be fake. You need the evidence to back it up. You need the evidence. Exactly. Don't be fake, because if you're just like posting on Instagram every day that you go to the gym every day but you don't, who's that helping? It's helping nobody. Exactly. So basically, I love that analogy, because you are building the evidence of like creating that path, like it's getting slightly easier to walk each time you walk down it. So I think that's so good, and I love an analogy. You and me both. It's so much easier to comprehend, I feel like, when there's just an example there right in front of your eyes. Absolutely. I come up with the wackiest ones. I'm doing check-ins with my clients, and then the other day I was talking about like a flip-flop in a river. Like, don't ask me how I came up with that, but I was like, if you just grab it when it first falls off, like you'll get it back, but if you just let it go down the river, it's going to be harder to get back. And they were like, that makes so much sense. I was like, kind of a bit strange now. I don't know where that came from. No, I love that. Just that's a strong so funny visualization skill that we have. For sure. And as you said there, I love what you said about like faking it till you make it to a certain extent, but you have to have the evidence to back it up. And I like always say as well, it's like every decision you make on a day-to-day basis is a vote in favor of the person that you want to become. So if you want to become someone who has a really good body and really loves like maybe what shape they're in, or like loves like how much exercise they do, you need to like make decisions in line with that. And the more times you go to the gym when you don't want to and stuff like that, the more that you're stacking evidence for the kind of person who's really fit, really healthy, and goes to the gym all the time. So I would say like even in terms of life, like there's a gap right now. So it's like who you are, even like who you are right now, and maybe even the next level of who you want to become. So you want to become Kelsey like 4.0 maybe in the next like 6 months. And I think we're at like 20.0 right now. Oh, it's wild. As like every decision you make now for the next, we'll say like 6 months,
you have to ask yourself, is this decision going to lead me closer or further away from this like Kelsey 40.0 that I'm going to be in the next
I change every
6
3 months.
Yeah. But it's like the more decisions you make in line with that version of yourself that you want to become, the closer and closer you get to that person, and eventually you're going to pass her out. It's almost like crafting your competition as your future self. And the more decisions you make to try and beat your competition, the faster you're going to get to that person.
Yeah, it's like shadow chasing. Like
Really,
you're
yeah.
chasing two different versions of yourself. You're either chasing the version in the wrong direction or the right direction.
100%.
So make sure you're chasing the right one. But I have a question for you. It actually just sparked in my mind after you said that. So I've bumped into I've experienced a lot of clients and like experienced a lot of conversations with people where I, let's say, ask them about how their journey is going, and they're like, "Oh, I'm not seeing like much changes." Let's say it's a health and fitness journey, and they're saying, "Oh, I haven't seen much change physically, like on the scales or this, that, and the other, but I feel better in myself." What is your opinion of that in the short term and in the long term?
In terms of what now? Just like the impact on a person in terms of like mentality?
So for people who say like, "Oh, I'm not seeing, like I'm not where I want to be, but I feel better in myself."
Gotcha. I suppose like, I don't know if this is going to answer your question or not, but playing the long game and always just like looking like anyone who goes for short-term gratification is never going to get to where they want to be in the long term. It's about choosing that kind of like seeing the vision. So it depends what that, say if that person's goal, maybe their goal is like obviously a better body, but they're already seeing maybe like mental changes in the positive direction. Yeah. Just like seeing those positive changes and just staying consistent. As we said with everything, it's just about staying consistent and then eventually knowing that you are going to see that those changes in the longer term as well if you do stay consistent with it. So obviously like using the fact that you're feeling better mentally as like a boost up almost, just stay consistent and keep going until you do start to see those other physical changes that you want to see. Probably. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. And I think it's a very valid point. Like, stay consistent. It doesn't matter if you're making like the mental progress first or the physical progress. As long as you're making progress, that's a positive thing, right?
Definitely.
But I think that sometimes people slow themselves down because obviously they're so comfortable with where they're at because they're so used to this, sitting in this, okay, I am this, I am that. And they start to just make smaller changes because they're more manageable. And for some people that might be absolutely fine. If you're in it for the long game, that's perfect. But if you say, nah, by the end of this year, I want to be completely different. I want to change my life. I want to change my body. I want to change my mindset.
Yeah.
But you're delaying that because you want to still sit kind of in that comfort. Sometimes I bump into people and they're like, oh, I'm not where I want to be, but I'm like changed in this way or that way. And I'm like, if you took a little bit more responsibility and leaned into a little bit more discomfort.
Throwing yourself in the deep end there, like,
right?
massive.
And I think sometimes when people change ever so slightly, that makes a big difference in the long run. But if you just change very slightly and then get to, let's say, an end date that you've set yourself. So let's say you sign up for a coaching program. Yeah. And you just kind of stay a little bit comfortable within that coaching program. You don't really push yourself. Yeah, you make some kind of small changes, but I think it's important to know that if nothing changes in the outcome of that. So if you do make a little bit of mental progress, perfect, you've made progress, great. Now lean into more discomfort so that you can keep changing, because sometimes people are like, I feel better in myself, but I haven't seen any physical change. And I'm like, right, well, your habits need to change in order to bring about that physical result. Just because you've changed your mindset doesn't mean that you've changed your behaviours. And if you haven't changed your behaviours, you're not going to change the outcome.
It's like, let's go level 2.0 now.
Exactly.
Like, you kind of completed level 1, let's go level 2. Yeah. And I do agree what you say there about, like, it's just how much discomfort you can handle. Like, that's the degree you're going to be able to grow and level up as a person. And I think, like, me and you, like, we've grown quite fast and evolved quite fast because we chose seriously large amounts of discomfort. Like, both of us threw ourselves into the deep end. And even stripping away that plan B, I think both of us kind of done that as well. It's like, when we don't have plan B, plan A always works because it has to work. You don't have any other option. And even by like not getting our degrees, not going to college, we didn't really have a plan B sitting there as such. So it kind of had to work, and then it did work. Like, so
I'm about to go off on this no plan B. I swear, because I spoke about this the other day, and I actually listened to a podcast. You know Jay Alderton?
Actually, I don't think I do. No.
He's a big inspiration of Daniel. Like, Daniel loves him.
Okay.
And he's like a mindset coach also. He's a motivational speaker. Like, you would love his content.
Definitely. I'll send you after.
Yeah. I'll send you after. So essentially, he was on a podcast and he mentioned these special forces recruits, and they go through like 32 weeks of training in the special forces. It's like pushing you to your breaking point, where the outcome is basically to try and break you. And if you make it through it, then you're in the special forces. That's your reward. So at the beginning, these recruits are told, right, if you want to give up at any point, if you get too uncomfortable, or if you just want to go home and give up, just ring the bell and you can go home. You know, put on your cozies, sit by the fire, get comfortable again.
Okay.
But they're pushing you, like they're sitting you out in the cold. They're just trying to break you. And the recruits that make it and the recruits that don't, there's only one difference. And the difference is that the recruits that view the bell as an option and the recruits that say the bell doesn't exist.
I love that.
So there's no choice but to go through the shit. Just go through the shit. And then on the other side, there's light. And it's the same like with hitting rock bottom in your life even. There's no other option but to go up. Because you're at rock bottom. What are you going to do? Get a jackhammer? Yeah. Like, please don't do that. Just choose to go up, you know?
Completely agree. I absolutely love that as well. Even just the concept of, even sometimes when I'm running, I think like that, and it's like if you give yourself the option to stop when it gets hard, then like you're likely just going to like be in a way more negative space for running and you might stop. Whereas if you don't give yourself any other option but to complete the run, you're going to complete the run.
Exactly. And there's no like there's always another way, so you don't have to stop. Like especially when you're running, if you just slow down, you're still moving forward. As long as you're putting one foot in front of the other, you're still moving forward. Whereas it goes back to, again, what we spoke about building evidence. If you stop, you're going to tell yourself this evidence of, I let my thoughts get the better of me. I'm not able to complete this run without stopping. Whereas if you just slow down, you're going to feel class at the end.
Completely
You know
agree.
what I mean? Because you didn't give up.
Definitely. And even you mentioned there about inspirations. For you on your journey, do you have like a couple of people that really inspired you or you looked up to at all? Or even now, like?
People that really inspired me. I think this goes like, there's surface level inspiration and then there's deep level inspiration. So if there is people that really inspired me on like surface level, it's like people that I followed on Instagram, like Lucy Davis. She's like a big fitness girly. I used to follow her and she's what gave me inspiration to start like training, and I always used her as like my motivation. She's just very down to earth and I loved her approach to health and fitness. So she inspired me that way. In terms of business, my dad definitely inspired me because he was always so supportive and he was always telling me, you know, you can be whatever you want. So
I love that.
Go and just do it. And he always believed in me. He always saw my potential, which I'm so, so grateful for, because that also helps me to lean into that. Because I was like, if he sees that, then I need to go and kind of find out what he's seeing.
Yeah.
You know? And then also when I moved to Bali, in terms of like business and growing your own business, and especially doing it in Bali, my friend Doge, he's the brother of my friend Destina. He has a business out here and he was in a similar position to myself like a while ago, where he was struggling a lot. He was in Bali as well and he was struggling. He was broke. He was like, I need to make this work. There's no plan B.
Yeah.
And I think that that's where I took that so seriously. It's when I got talking to him about business and I got talking to him about his hard times. And I think it was actually very rewarding for him to see my journey too, after he had already been through his.
I love that.
There's a word that's been driving me crazy for like a week now because I cannot think of what it is, but there's an effect, or there's a sort of thing where you know the outcome of someone else's process, but you need to let them go through it in order to learn. I cannot think of it. Please, someone text me on Instagram what the name of this is, because I cannot think of it and it's been driving me crazy for like a week now.
That's so interesting.
When you see someone going through something and you know that they're going to learn such a valuable lesson from that journey, so you just have to let them go through it.
I get what you mean.
You know? And he let me do that and I was so grateful for it. But he helped me out throughout like the time where I was at a low point. He gave me a lot of great advice, a lot of great inspiration, support, and I'm like so grateful to have him out here.
I absolutely love that so much. And even this is a different kind of question, but what's something that people misunderstand about you, would you say? Is there something in particular that comes to mind?
This is an interesting question. I think a big thing that people Let me think on that one for a few seconds.
Think away.
I think the people closest to me will already know this. So I think that the biggest thing people misunderstand about me is that I want something from helping them. And the main thing is that it's my passion, it's my value to help other people. I give you my left arm for free. Like, just take it if it'll benefit you. And that could be because I'm a recovering people pleaser. But I am just there to help and I want to help. But I don't want anything back from it necessarily, other than for you to just take that away and apply it. Maybe it's knowledge, maybe it's, you know, a gift that I buy my friend. It's just because I saw it and I thought of you, so I got it for you. And I don't want anything in return other than for you to just be happy.
I love that. And almost that like fulfillment you get from like someone getting value from either your like words or like something you get them as well is return enough.
Yeah, but how nice is it when someone offers you something, or, you know, unwarranted as well, will be like, oh, here's a piece of advice, or I know like unwarranted advice is not always welcome by people, but like even a gift, for example, how nice is it to receive a gift that someone just said, oh, I saw this and I thought of you, so I got it for you. That's so nice. And again, that just like fulfills me because I get to see them smile, enjoy it, and yeah, it's nice.
No, I absolutely love that. That's such a good one. And even leading on from that, what are some things that like make you happy on the day to day?
Coffee in the morning. That first sip of coffee in the morning.
Big smash.
And it's not even, I recently discovered this about myself, but it's not even the coffee. Like, I could go somewhere and they're like a remote island and there'd be no coffee on that island. And if I still had the same sort of morning routine that I had, I would enjoy it just as much. And it's just that routine that I've created for myself to give myself space in the morning in order to sit with my thoughts, or maybe just enjoy a slow start to my day rather than jumping straight onto social media or jumping straight into work. It's that space that I've given myself to sit down with a nice maybe drink or a meal, whatever it might be for someone else, and just sit with myself, because the rest of my day is dedicated to helping other people and working on my goals and connecting with people. So before I do that, I'm just like setting a bit of time aside for me, if that makes sense. That makes me really happy.
I love that.
My job makes me really happy. My clients, they're all legends. Because it's so fulfilling for me to see other people working on trying to level themselves up. And I'm sure that that's the same for you.
100%. I feel like seeing people go through what you've been through and helping them do it at like a faster rate and like without making the same mistakes that you've made is just like so powerful and fulfilling.
What makes you happy?
What makes me happy? Oh, I love a good gym session, like a good banging gym session, and the feeling I get after it, that makes me so happy. I love cold water, like ice baths, and like whether it's ice baths here or like sea swimming at home, that used to be my therapy during COVID. Like I used to always go out to like Bull Island or Vico baths and just go for a dip.
Oh, Bull Island.
I feel like my thoughts just like shut off. It's just like zen mode, absolute zen mode. But yeah, I think like connecting with like-minded people, like these conversations with people on my podcast make me so happy. Like just chatting to like-minded people and stuff like that out here, and just been able to like maybe take something from someone and been able to give them something back as well. That makes me so happy.
Yeah. I think connections with people is a big one out here too. And sometimes I feel like the level of connection that you're able to achieve with people out here differs from Ireland, definitely.
100%.
Because you get into deeper conversations out here, people are a lot more open, and you bump into different people of different cultures, and I love learning about things that would probably be so foreign to me in terms of how people grew up or what people believe in. And I'm so open to hearing about them because I'm so interested, and I think connections, that makes me really happy too, now that you say it. And I really love that about Bali. So
100%. And you mentioned even over the last while, you've obviously leveled up so much, but like right now in your life, what's one thing you're working on within yourself?
One thing I'm working on within myself, internally or externally?
Internally, we'll go with first. We'll go with both, actually. We'll go internally first.
Okay, internally. I think putting myself first is a big one that I'm working on, because my job, my whole life right now is putting other people first, and that doesn't necessarily reward me, because in a sense I am my business, and if I am not putting myself first and taking care of myself, there's no business.
Feel that one.
Yeah, right? And it's so easy to put other things first in order to just make them work, and you be the sufferer within it all. So that's definitely something that I'm working on internally. I want to throw the boomerang right back at you and ask you.
What about me? What am I working on internally? Oh, juicy one, juicy one. What's it gonna be? Probably, like I'd say my ego a little bit. I would say like it's something that like I'm a very logical person, and everyone will know me as been very logical with business, with like life in general. But when it comes to emotions, sometimes I can be like very non-logical, like at all, and just like let my ego get in the way. Like for example, like if I start to like someone or get feelings towards someone, like ego like just like, oh, you leave me seen, I'm gonna leave you seen for like 3 weeks, like, you know, it's just like silly. It's not the person I want to be anymore either. So I'd say just like overcoming like it's probably stems from a bit of a fear of rejection as well. So like overcoming that in a sense, and just like been truly me, and not like trying to fake this kind of like hard man like kind of like look from the outside, and just like being me in that area of my life as well as all the other areas, because I feel like I have it nailed in like business and friendships and stuff like that. But when there's feelings involved for me, it's just like really difficult to just like be authentic to myself sometimes. So that's one thing internally for me right now, I would say that I'm
if you were able to step away from yourself and view yourself maybe as a client, what advice would you give them? Because I'm sure that there's people that have just said, oh my God, I'm same. Like I struggle with that too. What would you tell them?
Great question. And I love like that mentality of even just stepping out and seeing yourself as a third party as well. But I suppose like in life in general, like what's for you won't pass you, and just to be yourself, and then in that like life's going to happen the way it's supposed to happen, like it does in every area. So all you can be is yourself, and by trying to be something you're not, you're just not been authentic to you. So even like if you do attract something, it's not actually going to be like what you want really. So like just being yourself is the key to, I think, even when it comes to social media, just being authentic online and business and with friendships and stuff like that. So just use that logic and apply that to that area of life as well, I would say is a big one.
Yeah. And I think that the fact that you know that this is not who you want to be anymore, this is not the way that you want to act anymore, gives you so much power in itself anyway, because again, nothing is fixed. And it doesn't matter if you like were a horrible person before, you can change that as well. Just because you were a horrible person before doesn't mean that you have to identify as a horrible person for the rest of your life.
Oh, thanks so much. I was a horrible person before.
Not you. I was talking to like the listeners.
Yeah. 100%.
But I mean, if they're listening to this, they're definitely not going to be a horrible person. You know what I mean? If there's traits about yourself that you don't like, you can change them.
I completely agree. And it stems back to everything's learnable. Absolutely everything is learnable. And you can be or do or become anyone you want. You no longer have to identify with this version of yourself if you don't want to.
Yeah. And it's just like the name of this podcast, like life is a game. So choose a different character. Just choose a different character.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And last question for you, but I thought this was a funny one. In terms of like your parents back at home, how would they describe to your friends or like people at home about what you do or how you're living your life? Because it's like pretty unnormal in Ireland and society to like live this kind of lifestyle. So how would they explain it?
Yeah, it's funny because I think my parents were so invested in my entire journey to get to where I am now. So they have a very strong understanding of what I do, because I like every time they call, they're asking. They're very invested in my work, which is really nice. So I'm gonna kind of switch the question a little bit and probably say like, how would my granddad describe what I do? Because I don't think that man has a clue. He's like, she's living out in the Bali.
She's like Thailand or Malaysia there for the weekend, and now she's back.
Asia, she's over in Asia, you know, helping people do the exercise. No, that's what he would say. Yeah, because like he would probably say that like they would best describe it as helping people get healthier, helping people change their relationship with themselves. I don't know if my granddad would actually say that, but he would probably
something along those lines.
Yeah, she's all lifting the dumbbells. But yeah, I think the main thing, if I was to summarize what I do, is to give people a new direction, a new avenue to achieve their goals that's not so sufferable, in terms of like sometimes people think that to change your life or to you know, change your body, change your mindset, that it has to be this gruesome, restrictive approach, but it absolutely doesn't. You can have so much abundance and so much balance in your life while achieving those things as well. And yeah, My granddad's like, I would have never said that.
I absolutely love that, though. That's so good. And in terms of you, if people want to work with you or people want to find you, where can they apply to work with you and where can they find you on social media?
So on social media, on Instagram, my tag, is that what you say?
Tag, my link, my
username. My username
my
is
at.
Yeah, my at is embracecoaching.ie, and yeah, they can find me there. They can reach out to me. We can have a conversation. And the main thing is that I want to work with people who are, you know, aligned with the outcome and the values that I'm aiming for to help people with. So yeah, let's have a conversation. They can DM me. They can, if they know that they want to work with me, they can apply through the link in my bio.
I love that. Hit the link in my bio.
I know, I hate saying that, but it's true. It's just there. Hit the link. And then we can have a call. There's no obligation. Maybe you can take something from that call and apply it. If things don't align, that's okay.
I love that. And I'll put all your tags in the description of the podcast as well, so people can find you there. No stress. Thanks so much for coming on. That was a banging episode.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. I think there's some really good key points that people can take away and implement straight away.
Absolutely. Straight up. Scenes.